I stepped through the front door after a long day at work, a weird knot in my gut telling me something was off. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it was like a storm cloud creeping up on me. It was only 5 p.m. on a Friday, which felt strange. Normally, I'd be at the garage, hustling to prepare for the weekend rush. Name's Jake Thornton, by the way. I run Thornton's Rides, a business I kicked off when I was just 16, wrenching on cars. By 20, I'd opened my own shop in Augusta, Georgia, focusing on high-end Italian cars. The area had plenty of those fancy rides, but the only other mechanic around was gouging folks with insane prices. It was a risk, sure, but I had a solid plan, and the bank manager bought into it. My grandpa pitched in some cash to get me going, too. The rich folks around here, cruising in their sleek European cars, became my loyal customers. Soon enough, they started asking me to track down cars for their teenagers. That's when I branched out into used car sales and bodywork. Now, at 38, I've got 4 shops across the state, and the business is worth a cool $8 million, give or take. Life's been good, no question. Today, though, I cut out early because my wife, Lauren, said she had something serious to talk about. She sounded urgent, like it couldn't wait. Lauren's 35, and we've been hitched for 14 years. We met when her dad, Tom, hired me to find her a car for her 20th birthday. When she came to pick it up, sparks flew, and a year later, we were saying our vows. We've got 2 boys now, Elliot, 12, and Mason, 10. Tom's a stand-up guy, an accountant who's made partner at his firm and always has my back with the business. Lauren's mom, Diane, though? She's got a chip on her shoulder about me. Calls me a grease monkey behind my back and thinks Lauren could have done better. Then there's Lauren's brother, Kyle, who's allergic to the idea of settling down, and her younger sister, Bethany, who's married to a guy named Preston, a cocky trial lawyer. He acts like he's hot stuff, but he's just a courtroom showboat. Diane, of course, thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Something went down with Bethany years ago, nobody talks about it, but it led to surgery, and now she can't have kids. That makes our boys the only grandkids, which Diane isn't thrilled about. Bethany's been down about it, especially since Diane won't shut up about wanting more grandkids. Lauren's been worried sick about her sister. A while back, I floated the idea of adoption, but Diane lost it, saying she only wanted real grandkids with her bloodline. Tom brought up surrogacy, which got Bethany's interest, but when I explained IVF, Diane started interrogating everyone about who'd donate the eggs. That was 3 months ago, and the topic keeps resurfacing like a bad rash. Now, about that uneasy feeling I had walking in. Lauren's been acting strange lately. For the past week, she's been glued to her phone, texting someone nonstop. She's usually an open book, but now she's hiding the screen from me. And we haven't been close in over a week. Sure, we've had some moments, but it's lacked the spark we usually have. Something's not right. Our house sits on about 1.5 acres in a quiet corner of Savannah, land my grandpa gave me when I was a kid. I built our place here after we got married. The land was part of a bigger 6-acre plot my grandpa used for his landscaping business. He left the main house and half an acre to my older brother, sold off 4 acres for development, and set up a trust for the family, including college funds for our kids. Our place is tucked away, hidden from the road. So, when I pulled into the driveway and saw a bunch of cars parked out front, Tom and Diane's, Bethany and Preston's, and a couple I didn't recognize, my gut screamed that something was up. They were trying to play it cool, but I wasn't buying it. I parked and slipped in through the garage, knowing it'd keep my entrance quiet. Standing in the laundry room, I strained to hear what was going on, but all I got were muffled voices. I've got this habit, thanks to Tom, of carrying a small voice recorder for business meetings. I flicked it on, slid it back into my pocket, and figured it'd catch whatever was about to unfold. Taking a deep breath, I pushed open the door to the kitchen. There they were, 8 people crammed into the corner of the room. Lauren, Tom, and Diane were squished on a 3-seater couch. Bethany and Preston claimed the love seat. Kyle was sprawled in an armchair, while Lauren's aunts, Marjorie and Ellen, sat on chairs dragged in from the dining room. A lone chair from my study was set up across from them, like they'd planned a spot for me to face the firing squad. This was an ambush, no doubt about it. As I shut the door, Lauren glanced up and said, "Hey, Jake, come on in and grab a seat. We're just chatting about some stuff and want your take on it." Yeah, right. They had something cooked up, and they expected me to just nod along. Instead of taking their bait, I grabbed a bar stool from the counter, spun it around, and planted myself facing them. Sitting up higher gave me a bit of an edge, forcing them to look up at me. I didn't say a word, just locked eyes with Lauren, letting her feel how ticked off I was. Her cheeks flushed, and she couldn't hold my gaze. I scanned the room slowly. Tom and Kyle wouldn't meet my eyes. Diane had this smug grin, like she thought she was running the show. Preston smirked like he had it all figured out. Bethany, though, she had this hopeful smile I hadn't seen in ages. The tension in the room was thick, like a fog you could cut with a knife. I wasn't about to break the silence. Let them sweat it out. Lauren was fidgeting, her eyes darting everywhere but at me. She knew I wasn't going to let this slide. I kept my stare fixed on her, watching her squirm under the pressure. She could play it off all she wanted, but she was cracking already. Finally, Diane piped up, her voice dripping with confidence. "We've got it all sorted, Jake. We've come up with a solution for Bethany's situation." Like it was no big deal, like I wasn't about to call them out on whatever game they were playing. I didn't even glance her way, just kept my eyes on Lauren, ready for whatever came next. I kept my eyes glued on Lauren, who was dodging my stare like she'd rather be anywhere else. Finally, she had no choice but to look up, her voice shaky as hell. "Jake, you know Bethany can't have kids. We've tossed around surrogacy as an option. It's a solid plan. Mom wants the eggs to come from within the family, so we've decided I'll be the one to carry the baby." I couldn't hold back anymore. My words came out sharp, cutting through the heavy silence. "So, you've been scheming about this for weeks, and I'm just supposed to roll with it? You think this doesn't mess with me or our boys? You really believe you can make these kinds of calls without looping me in?" I leaned forward, my voice rising. "That's not how we do things in this family, Lauren. You don't get to rearrange our lives and leave me in the dark." Diane, with that smug look plastered on her face, couldn't resist jumping in. "What's the issue, Jake? This is for the family. Just be a supportive husband, hold her hand, and smile for the pictures." I turned to her slowly, my gaze still locked on Lauren, not giving Diane the satisfaction of my full attention. "No, Diane. This is my business. This impacts me and my kids. You think Elliot and Mason won't notice their mom's gone half the time? You think they won't be confused, wondering why she's off at some clinic, getting poked with needles and pumped full of hormones? That's gonna mess them up. And it's gonna mess me up, too." My voice dropped, cold and sharp. "You don't get how much damage this could do, but let me tell you, it's real. You can't just shrug it off like it's no big deal." I didn't bother glancing at the others, but I caught Preston's cocky smirk and Bethany's uneasy squirm out of the corner of my eye. Something was seriously wrong, like a bad smell I couldn't ignore. What the hell's really going on here? I muttered under my breath. Then Diane dropped the bomb, her smile dripping with self-satisfaction. "No IVF, Jake. My grandson's going to be conceived the natural way, with love, not in some lab." That's when it hit me, this wasn't just about surrogacy. This was a setup, a twisted plan, and I was the last one to get the memo. My blood was boiling, my heart pounding in my chest. "Are you out of your damn mind?" I snapped. "You think you can pull this off behind my back, like I'm too dumb to figure it out?" I turned to Lauren, my eyes blazing. "Explain. Now." She flinched, fear flashing across her face. She wasn't ready for this fight. She thought she could control the narrative, but she was losing it fast. 2 months ago, I went off my birth control, she whispered, barely audible. My cycle started 3 weeks ago, and it'll hit again soon. In a couple of weeks, I'll be fertile, and Preston's going to stay with me. We'll make a baby. Then Bethany and Preston will adopt it. It'll be their biological child. I was on my feet now, fists clenched, rage burning through me like wildfire. Before I could say anything, Kyle's hand landed on my shoulder, trying to hold me back. "Jake, take it easy, man. Don't do something you'll regret," he said, his voice calm but firm. I shook him off, my eyes ice cold. "Regret? You think anything I do now is gonna be the problem? You have no clue what's about to go down." I turned to the rest of them, my voice like steel. "Get out. All of you." Diane started to protest. "Jake, we need to settle this," but I cut her off, done with their games. "You don't settle anything here." "I do. And right now, I'm telling you to get the hell out of my house." Tom was already up, tugging Diane's arm to get her moving. I wasn't playing around. Tom, if she's not out in 10 seconds, I swear I'll drag her out myself. That's a promise. Diane's eyes widened, and she froze, realizing I wasn't bluffing. She shot a desperate look at Lauren, like she could salvage this mess. Lauren, don't you want Kyle to stay, just in case? She stammered. I let out a bitter laugh. In case of what? You think I'd lay a hand on my wife? You think that's what this is? My voice turned low, slicing through the room. If you think this is gonna end with me being okay with your little scheme, you don't know me at all. Lauren's face was pale, her eyes wide with panic. She looked at her mom, then at the others. Mom, just go. Everyone, please, leave. Jake and I need to talk. Once they finally cleared out, I stormed to my office and locked the door. First thing, I saved the recording of that whole fiasco. Then I reset the recorder, ready for whatever came next. Lauren's voice came through the door, loud and accusing. Jake, I've never seen you act like such a jerk. Come out here and deal with this like a grown-up. I couldn't believe it. She's the one dropping this bombshell, and now she's mad I'm upset? I chuckled to myself, shaking my head, but didn't respond. At work, I've got a system that logs all calls, texts, and messages, part of our CRM setup. It's saved my ass more times than I can count, especially when clients try to dodge bills for extra work. Lauren's phone's tied into it, too. Lately, it's been buzzing non-stop, and all those messages get stored, even if most end up in the junk folder. I didn't waste a second. I pulled up her records, digging through calls and texts between her, Diane, Bethany, and Preston. Sure enough, it was all there, laid out like a roadmap. They'd even started a group chat labeled New Beginnings. The group chat included Lauren, Bethany, Preston, and Diane, all in on it. I scrolled through the messages slowly, piecing it together. This whole thing kicked off 3 months ago, right after we first talked about surrogacy. It started with Lauren offering to donate eggs for a surrogate, but it snowballed fast into her volunteering to carry the baby herself. Diane was all over it, dictating how the conception should happen, and Preston was more than happy to chime in with his opinions. The kicker? Diane was dead set on the baby being conceived naturally because she had this weird notion that a test tube kid wouldn't have enough emotional depth. It took me a solid hour to process it all. While I was at it, I shot a message to my lawyer, asking for a referral to a divorce specialist. When I finally left the office, I found Lauren in the living room, perched in a chair, sipping a glass of wine like she didn't have a care in the world. The initial wave of rage had settled, but I could still see that spark of defiance in her eyes. I was fuming. Leaning against the doorway, arms folded, I fired off the question like a bullet. You really thought I'd just eat this garbage plan without a fight, didn't you? Her face twisted, anger flaring up. What do you mean, garbage? We agreed, Jake. We decided this was the best way to help Bethany. You're acting like a kid throwing a fit, kicking my family out of our house like you own it. I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. You're gonna sit there and act like you're not stabbing me in the back? You think you can dress up cheating as some noble act to help your sister? That's what you're calling help? You're out of your mind, Lauren. I couldn't keep the edge out of my voice. And don't kid yourself, this house is mine, too. You disrespect me here, and you'll feel the consequences. Keep pushing this, and it's not just a fight. It's headed straight for divorce. Want me to break it down for you? Need me to draw you a map? I stared at her down, my anger simmering. Where are the boys? You better not have dragged them into this mess. The word divorce hit her like a slap, but she bounced back fast, her eyes narrowing as she fired back. If you divorce me, Jake, you'll be the one left with nothing. You'll be shelling out child support, spousal support, and I'll take half the business. All that work you put in? Poof, gone. I'll sell it to the highest bidder. Don't think you're coming out ahead. I laughed again, louder this time. She really thought she had me cornered. You think I'm gonna let you pull that off? Come on, Lauren. You think Preston's hotshot advice is gonna save you? Let me set you straight, his ideas are trash. If you're banking on him to outsmart me, good luck. I'll have his law license in the shredder before you blink. This house, this land? It was mine before we ever said I do. We signed a prenup, remember? You don't get a dime of it, and I don't touch your dad's accounting firm. You want to get pregnant with someone else's kid and use it as leverage? Go for it. But don't forget, both your pregnancies nearly killed you with blood pressure spikes. That's all in your medical records. Try me in court for custody, because I'm ready to go to war. I was done with her games. Here's the deal. You don't get to make a baby with Preston while you're still my wife. I'm not even entertaining IVF at this point because, frankly, I don't trust you anymore. You've rigged this so you either win or lose, but if you keep this up, I'm the one coming out on top. Our marriage is hanging by a thread. She tensed, clearly scrambling to regain control. After a pause, she muttered, "Where are the boys? I need to see them." The mention of our kids cut through the haze, but it didn't change the mess we were in. Her face softened for a second, but she quickly masked it. They're at the Hendersons' place, number 42. I'm heading to pick them up now. Can you get dinner ready? I didn't answer, just gave a curt nod, already knowing the routine. I grabbed a couple of frozen pizzas from the fridge, couldn't be bothered with anything else, popped them in the oven, and waited. Later, I spent the evening out back with Elliot and Mason, tossing a football around, acting like everything was fine. But inside, I was a volcano ready to erupt. The boys crashed at 9:30, worn out from playing. I couldn't fake it anymore, though. The anger was eating me alive. I snagged a beer from the fridge, cracked it open, and headed to the living room where Lauren was still sitting, swirling that same glass of wine like she hadn't just flipped my world upside down. I dropped onto the couch across from her, took a long swig, and let the silence stretch. Then I cut through it, my voice low and steady. "So, you really figured I'd just sit back and let you betray me? Let you go off with another guy to have a kid for your sister, and I'm supposed to act like it's all good? You expect me to clear out of my own bedroom like it's no big deal? You don't get how much disrespect and shame you're piling on me." Her face faltered for a moment, but she rallied, her voice softer now, trying to play the martyr. "I'm doing this for Bethany." "Jake, you're missing the point," Lauren said, her voice trembling with a mix of desperation and defiance. "Bethany's falling apart. Mom's dead set against IVF, and Preston says they can't swing the cost. If I don't step up for her, I'm terrified she'll do something drastic, and I'll never forgive myself if that happens." I shook my head, my words coming out sharper than I intended. "So, this is all some big act, huh? You're laying on the guilt trip, thinking I'll just buckle because you're helping Bethany. This is straight-up manipulation, Lauren. Plain as day." I grabbed another beer from the fridge, my hands shaking as I tried to keep it together. "Let me be crystal clear. There's no way you and Preston are having a kid like this. If you want to help them, we can cover the cost of IVF. Hell, we can split it with your parents if that's what it takes. If your mom's got a problem with it, too bad. But let's get one thing straight, I've already reached out to my lawyer, and I've got a divorce attorney on speed dial. This is no joke, Lauren. You go through with this, and we're done. You'll torch everything we've built, and you'll turn into someone I can't stand to be around." She bolted from the room, tears streaming, and I heard the bedroom door slam. I didn't know if she locked it, but I wasn't about to sleep next to her. The idea of her trying to sweet-talk me through the night made my stomach churn. I wanted her to feel what life would be like without me in it. I headed to my office, locked the door, and pulled up her message logs again. Turns out, she and Bethany were in a group chat, along with Diane and Preston. Bethany was spiraling, texting that this was her last shot at a kid and she didn't know what she'd do if it fell through. Lauren promised she'd handle me, and Diane just wrote, "Go for it and beg forgiveness later." Preston chimed in, saying he couldn't afford a divorce. Lauren shot back, "We've got a prenup, and my business isn't part of it." Preston didn't reply. There was a long pause, then Lauren added, "He's looking for a divorce lawyer." I checked my email. My company lawyer, Vince, had gotten back to me. "Damn, Jake, I thought you two were solid," he wrote, recommending a guy named Carter Hayes and promising to send a checklist of what I'd need. Then Carter's email popped up, a brief intro and a request for details. I knew it was time to act. I opened a new document and started laying out everything I'd uncovered over the past 3 months. I copied the damning messages from the group chat and attached the agreement Lauren signed years ago, giving my company permission to monitor and use her communications. I shut the laptop, pulled out the couch in the office, and crashed. I woke up to the sound of the office door handle rattling, followed by a frantic knock. Then came Lauren's voice, half shrieking, dripping with panic. "Jake, what the hell are you doing? Why didn't you come to bed?" I groaned, checking my watch, 4:30 in the morning. Dragging myself up, I unlocked the door, my temper hanging by a thread. When it swung open, there she was in the hallway, wrapped in a robe that was barely tied, nothing underneath. I just stared at her, like she was some stranger trespassing in my house at this ungodly hour. "What's the issue?" I asked, my voice flat and cold. She tried to play it cool, but her shoulders were tense. "I was waiting for you in bed. I thought we could talk, maybe cool things off. I want you to know your jealousy's misplaced." "Yeah, right." I wasn't buying her act for a second. I didn't let on that I'd seen the group chat messages. No need to tip my hand about her lies. So, I kept it short, staring her down without a shred of warmth. "Lauren, over the years, you've used charm to get your way on little things, what car we buy, whether we get a cat, small stuff. But this? This isn't about a damn car or a pet. You're talking about betrayal. You're planning to cheat on me, and no amount of fake tears or 'I'm just helping my sister' nonsense is gonna fix it." Her eyes flickered, caught off guard by my directness. "I'm not sharing a bed with someone who's scheming to sleep with another man," I added, my voice low and steady, laced with warning. "You want to go through with this? Fine. But don't think it won't burn our life to the ground. You've already shown me where your loyalties lie." I held her gaze, letting the weight of my words sink in. "This isn't about jealousy, Lauren. It's not about me being some paranoid fool. It's about you stomping all over my trust, my feelings, my damn dignity. You've already crushed that with this plan you've been cooking up. The real problem? It's me being able to face myself every morning, knowing I'm living with someone who can lie to my face without blinking." I shut the door, locked it, and turned off the light. A faint glow from under the door told me she was still standing there. I heard a quiet sigh, then the light vanished. Saturday rolled around. Usually, I head out later, but I was up early, grabbed a bagel from a food truck in Macon, and went straight to the office. I brewed a pot of coffee and sat down to strategize. Lauren would probably try to shift gears. Last night, she'd pulled her usual charm him into submission routine, but I'd held firm, and it felt good. I wondered if she realized this wasn't about some petty argument. She had two options: play the perfect wife and mom, hoping I'd overlook her betrayal, or turn vicious, making my life hell if I didn't cave. I bet she'd go for the sweet act today, so I'd hit her with the opposite. I stayed at the office until 5:30, long after everyone else had gone home. I just couldn't face going back. Our marriage felt like a shattered window, barely holding together. Lauren had taken a sledgehammer to our marriage, and I was starting to think it was beyond repair, no matter what she tried next. I dragged myself home to our place, around 6 p.m. There she was in the kitchen, wearing a sundress that hugged her curves, makeup flawless, flashing a smile like she was some kind of angel. On a normal day, I'd have been all over her. But today? I barely gave her a glance. I headed straight to the guest room to change. About 20 minutes later, her voice rang out, "Jake, dinner's on the table." I had to put on a front for Elliot and Mason, but I was determined to show Lauren her perfect wife routine wasn't swaying me. I sat down, and she poured us both glasses of red wine, then served up my usual Saturday meal: grilled ribeye, mashed potatoes, and sautéed green beans. Same old, same old. I focused on the boys, talking about their school projects and baseball practice, anything to keep the conversation off her. She tried to steer her way, but I shut that down fast. The boys didn't notice, but Lauren sure did. After dinner, she dropped it casually, like it was no big deal. "Jake, why don't you help me with the dishes? The boys can play for a bit." I stood up, already irritated, but when I saw her sitting there acting like everything was fine, my blood started to simmer. I could hear Elliot and Mason in the next room, bickering over their video game. Then she hit me with it. "Jake, sit down. We need to talk." I dropped back into the chair, hard, arms crossed, bracing for the worst. "What's this about?" I grumbled, knowing it was gonna get messy. She didn't bother with small talk, staring at me like I was the one screwing things up. "You've got the nerve to ask that," she snapped. "If you really don't see what's happening, our marriage is in worse shape than I thought. Let me spell it out. You're accusing me of planning to cheat, of trying to get pregnant with someone else's kid." I held her gaze for a moment, letting her words sink in, but I wasn't about to let her spin this. I kept my voice calm, but every word was sharp. "You think I'm just gonna sit here and eat this crap? You expect me to let you pull this stunt and pretend it's all good?" You're acting like you're some hero saving your sister, but don't play me for a fool. You're setting up to betray me, and you're hiding behind excuses. Her fake sweet wife mask cracked, replaced by something cold and bitter. Let me make this clear, she hissed, her voice low and venomous. I'm doing this for Bethany. If you can't handle it, then walk away. File for divorce. She thought she could call my bluff, but I wasn't backing down. You want to throw our marriage away for your sister? Go ahead, but don't think I'm gonna sit here like some chump. You're the one smashing this to bits, and you know it. I spent all day at the office thinking about us. You know what hit me? A marriage is like a window, supposed to reflect trust and love. But you're chucking bricks at it, shattering it into a million pieces. No matter how much we try to patch it up, it's gonna stay broken, scarred, ruined. We both see it. I stood, leaning over the table, my voice a low, cutting whisper. I'm not messing around, Lauren. You want to destroy what we've got? You want to pick them over me, over our boys? Don't be shocked when there's nothing left. This isn't about me being jealous or petty or whatever you're telling yourself. It's about respect, about loyalty. You've already picked your side, and now you're trying to sell it as some big sacrifice for Bethany. Don't insult me. I couldn't stand to look at her anymore. My chest was tight, and I needed to get away. The boys were glued to their video game, so I walked into their room and joined them. We played some shooter game all night, the only thing loud enough to drown out the chaos in my head. It felt like my world was crumbling, and it tore me up inside. Every day, I was losing something I couldn't get back. Weeks passed, but nothing changed. Lauren kept up her act, doting mom, perfect wife, like if she smiled enough, I'd forget she was plotting behind my back. Every time she brought up this baby nonsense, I shut it down cold. I made it clear, this was the line in the sand. She'd say, just trust me, Jake, but trust was long gone. Then one night, Bethany showed up for dinner. Afterward, Lauren asked me to sit with them in the living room. I knew what was coming, and it made my skin crawl. Bethany started in, laying on the guilt like she was some martyr. Jake, my life's empty without a child. I need this. What Lauren's offering to do for me, it's the greatest gift anyone could give. Can't you find it in your heart to support me? I glanced at Lauren, her eyes dodging mine. I could smell the setup from a mile away, and I wasn't stepping into their trap. I wasn't that dumb. Bethany, I said, my voice hard as iron, there are plenty of ways to have a kid without turning my wife into a cheater. Lauren sucked in a sharp breath next to me, trying to keep her cool, but I could tell she was rattled. She knew she'd lost the reins on this conversation. Maybe life's dealt you a rough hand, Bethany, but I'm not joking around. If you push this, if you drag her into it, our marriage is over. You're ready to tear it all apart just for your own selfish reasons. I paused, letting that sink in, watching her fidget. Then I drove it home. And what happens if Preston can't get it done the first time? You gonna keep this up, month after month, try after try, until she's pregnant? It took us 10 months with Elliot, 6 with Mason. You think this is some quick fix? Lauren looked away, trying to hide the guilt creeping across her face, but it was plain as day. She'd hoped I wouldn't see through it, but I wasn't blind. And what's next? One kid's not enough, so you decide you need another to round out your perfect family? You gonna keep this going until you've got a whole squad? Bethany's face turned red, but Lauren just started picking at her nails, dodging my words. I stared at her, disgust rising. So, you've got this all figured out, huh? You're not stopping at one, are you? Damn, that's cold. You're turning into your mother, and I see it clear as daylight. I stood, fists clenched. Bethany and Lauren shot to their feet too. Bethany was crying now, but Lauren's mask slipped, and raw anger poured through. Jake, I never thought you'd be this damn pig-headed, she spat. We've given you every chance to man up and handle this, but you won't. Fine. I'm going to Bethany and Preston's place in Augusta on Friday. I'll be there for a week. You sort yourself out. I didn't flinch, didn't hesitate. My voice sliced through the room like a blade. Don't bother coming back. When you get there, you'll be served divorce papers, and your stuff will be boxed up in the garage. Over the past 3 weeks, I'd met with Carter Hayes, my divorce lawyer, 6 times. The prenup had me covered, my business and the family trust were untouchable. The house and land were mine before we tied the knot. All I'd have to split with Lauren was our savings and investments, about $1.8 million. I'd already divided the accounts in half. Georgia's a no-fault state, but they've got laws on unreasonable behavior. The group chat messages and the recording from that ambush gave me plenty to prove Lauren was out of line. Plus, her hospitalizations during both pregnancies, blood pressure issues, pretty much locked in my case for custody of the boys. As I headed to my room, I fired off a text to Carter. She's going through with it. Starts Friday. He called me back in seconds. After a quick hey, he cut to the chase. You know their plan? I filled him in. She's heading to their place in Augusta after work Friday, staying the weekend and all next week. All right, he said. We serve her Friday when she leaves work. That'll give her a chance to rethink, and it'll look good in court. Shows she had every opportunity to back off. Nothing says you made your choice like a divorce petition. The house felt like a freezer, every room cold, the air thick with tension. After the boys went to bed, I could feel Lauren's eyes on me, but I wasn't making this easy for her. She kept trying to get close, acting like everything was normal, even brushing my hand like she was still my loving wife. I pulled away every time. Finally, she spoke, her voice soft, like she thought she could charm me. Jake, it's just 1 week. How's that gonna change anything? I snapped, stepping back and standing tall. Lauren, this changes everything. You're walking out on me for another man. I turned to face her, my eyes cold. When you come back, you'll be a cheater. I'll never touch you again without seeing what you've done. You think this is just a week? Are you really that clueless? I stepped closer, my voice low and hard. If you go to their place tomorrow, we're finished. There's no coming back. You're picking their needs, their wants, over me, over the boys. You're ditching us like we don't matter. You don't care what I tell Elliot and Mason, what I have to explain to them. And when their friends hear about this, you think that won't spread like a brush fire? People will talk, Lauren. And when they do, you'll be left trying to justify turning our marriage into a damn soap opera. Her face crumpled, but she tried to hold my gaze, like she could convince me there was something left to save. Jake, I'm not leaving you for anyone. I'm just carrying a baby for Bethany. I let out a harsh laugh, my voice sharp. You don't get it, do you? You are leaving me. You're putting their dreams above ours, above our kids. You're abandoning us for a week like we're nothing. And don't think if it doesn't work this month, it'll just stop. You'll be back there next month, and the month after, until it takes. You can't pretend that's not real. I leaned in, my voice a low growl. You've turned your back on this family, on me, just to chase Bethany's dreams and your mom's crazy demands. You've made your choice. This is your last shot, Lauren. One chance to see what you're about to throw away. You keep going, and everything that happens next? That's on you. You'll be the one who burns this down. You'll be the one who breaks this family apart. I turned and walked out of the living room, my boots heavy on the hardwood. Lauren didn't follow right away, but I heard her footsteps scrambling after me as I climbed the stairs to our bedroom. I locked the door and let her catch up. A moment later, a knock came, soft at first, then sharper. What do you mean by it's over? She asked, her voice cracking with panic. What are you scheming, Jake? I cracked the door just enough to meet her eyes, my stare cold and unyielding. I've already laid it out for you, I said, my words low and biting. You need to decide what matters more, our family or your sister's selfish demands. Choose, because once you do, there's no turning back. You'll see what's coming, and it ain't gonna be pretty. I didn't give her a chance to answer. I slammed the door shut, the sound echoing through the quiet house. I was done. So was she. By 10 o'clock that night, I was in bed, finally catching some real sleep for the first time since this mess started. I'd done all I could. The ball was in her court now, and whatever happened next, she'd have to own it. The next morning, I didn't bolt out the door for work. What was the point? I stayed in the kitchen, whipping up pancakes for Elliot and Mason, trying to act like everything was normal while my head spun with chaos. Then I heard her. Lauren shuffled into the kitchen, dragging a small suitcase behind her. She shot me a look, all fake concern, like I was supposed to give a damn. Then she stashed the bag in the laundry room, thinking I wouldn't notice. I didn't look up from the stove. So, you've made your call, I said flatly. She rummaged through the coat rack, then stopped short, her breath catching. What's with these cryptic lines you've been throwing at me? She demanded. What the hell are you getting at, Jake? I didn't turn around, keeping my voice steady and cold. Ain't nothing cryptic about it, Lauren. I've been straight with you. You just ignored every word I said. You think you can still pull one over on me? I know exactly what's happening, so quit acting like I'm clueless. I heard her take a deep breath, like she was trying to steady herself, then she laid on the guilt. I can't abandon Bethany, Jake. She needs me. Her mental health's hanging by a thread if I don't do this. I spun to face her, my jaw clenched. Yeah? Well, guess what, Lauren? Our family's been playing second fiddle for too damn long. You made your choice, and it sure wasn't us. So don't stand there pretending you're some saint. You're just looking out for yourself. I didn't wait for her comeback. I yelled up the stairs, "Boys, breakfast's ready." Snatching my keys off the counter, I headed for the door without a second glance. Later, I muttered, aiming for the exit. She grabbed my wrist as I reached the handle, her voice thick with desperation. You're not even gonna kiss me goodbye? I pulled my hand free, not sparing her a look. Nah, I'll leave that for Preston, I said, my voice like ice, letting her feel the sting. I heard her choke back a sob behind me, but I didn't turn around. I walked out and slammed the door, cutting off her cries. Then came the gut punch, her voice, raw and shattered, seeping through the door. Jake, please, I need you with me for this. Lauren, Bethany, and even Diane blew up my phone all day, but I ignored every call. At 4 o'clock, my assistant patched through Tom. Put him on, I said, bracing myself. Hey, Jake, Tom started. I know this is a mess, but it's turned into a standoff. Lauren thought you'd cave, but you've pushed back hard. Now she's worried if she backs down, she'll look weak. How do we fix this? I took a deep breath. Sorry, Tom, but there's nothing to patch up. If I let this slide, I lose who I am. I won't be able to look at myself or even touch Lauren again. She brought this on herself. If she thought it through, she'd know I wouldn't roll over. Honestly, I think our marriage is cooked. Your point about her not backing down just proves it. He paused, then asked, Lauren says you're divorcing her. That true? Yeah, Tom, I said. I told her if she goes through with this, I'm filing. The papers are ready. In a no-fault state like Georgia, I can file, and she can't stop it. Tom sighed. You sticking to the prenup? Good memory, I said. Yeah, I am. I'm protecting my business, and the house was mine before we got married. I'll be fair, but I'm not going overboard. There was a long silence. If I were in your shoes, Tom said, I'd probably do the same. I told Diane not to let it get this far, but she thought you'd fold to keep the peace. I should have pushed harder. We wrapped up with a quick thanks. I knew the next talk with Tom or anyone else in the family wouldn't be as civil. I headed home early to our place. Elliot and Mason were at Mrs. Larson's house next door, and I needed to start wrapping my head around this new reality, knowing things were about to shift for them in a big way. Then my phone buzzed, Tom again. Damn it, Jake, he said, his voice heavy. She got the divorce papers today. Yeah, Tom, I replied. I told you I wasn't bluffing. Now she knows I mean business. It's her call now, me and the boys or Bethany and Preston. There was a pause, then Tom said, she's stunned. Diane's ready to rip you apart. And Bethany's so deep in a dark place, we can't even get through to her. You've turned this family upside down. I sighed. Sorry, Tom, but you know how I've felt these past 3 weeks. This isn't on me. I had no choice. Tell Lauren her actions will speak for her. If she comes home, we can talk. If not, I'll know where I stand. I hung up, not waiting for a response. I drove home, grabbed the boys, and ordered pizza. If Lauren showed up, things were gonna get ugly. We finished eating, and I started the dishwasher when I heard a car pull into the driveway. Peeking out, I saw Tom, Diane, and Lauren climbing out. I told the boys to head to their rooms and mess around on their computers, then I slipped into the bedroom. That room felt cursed now, tainted by all the garbage that had gone down lately. Diane barged in like a tornado, her face twisted with fury. Tom trailed behind, trying to rein her in. Diane, we're here to help, not make this worse, he said, grabbing her arm to calm her down. She shook him off, spinning toward me. How the hell could this get worse, Tom? This fool's blocking us from having grandkids. I'm done with this nonsense. He's ruining everything, and I won't stand for it. I saw Tom's jaw tighten. He was fed up with her too. He shot her a look that made her step back, but she kept yapping. Then Lauren shuffled in, looking like she was headed to her own funeral, clutching a brown envelope, her eyes red and puffy from crying. She sank onto the couch, head bowed. I stayed put in my chair, staring straight ahead. Tom shoved Diane into a chair at the kitchen table, muttering something about making coffee, but I wasn't listening. My eyes were locked on Lauren. She finally looked up, her voice shaky. Is this really your final word? I didn't blink. Damn right it is. Her voice broke. No room to talk it out? I didn't hesitate. None. She paused, then tried again. What about IVF? Can we at least discuss that? The question hit me like a punch to the gut, and I had to swallow the urge to lose it. Lauren, I told you 3 weeks ago where I stood. But you didn't listen, did you? You thought you could sneak this behind my back, and I'd just roll over. Too late now. You can donate eggs, hire a surrogate, I'll even foot the bill. But you carrying that kid? Not happening. Not after how you've treated me. Diane's mouth opened, but Tom put a hand on her shoulder, giving her a look that screamed, "Shut it, Diane. This is their fight." Lauren's eyes filled with tears, streaks running down her face. But I wasn't the villain here, not anymore. She'd made sure of that. I didn't want to take the blame for this mess. She wiped her eyes, her voice desperate. I don't want a divorce, Jake. I need you. How do we fix this? I leaned back, letting out a sharp breath. Honestly, Lauren, I don't know if we can. Too much has gone down, too many lies, too much disrespect. But if you're serious about trying, here's the deal. You drop this whole thing with Bethany. Shutting me out of this decision? That's a deal breaker. If you go through with being her surrogate, we're done. I'm filing, no questions asked. Her face fell, but I kept going. Second, we rebuild this marriage. You don't get to make choices like this and expect me to just shrug it off. I gave you room to be you, but you took that as a free pass to do whatever you wanted. A wife who respects her husband doesn't pull this kind of stunt. A wife who gets what marriage means wouldn't even dream of it. I let that sink in, making sure she felt it. We've got a broken window here, Lauren, and I'm not sure it can be fixed. The cracks are too deep. She flinched, her voice trembling with fear. You said a broken window can be patched, but the cracks will always show. Is that what our marriage is gonna be? I stared at her down, unflinching. Yeah, I'm afraid so. Diane had had enough, her face red with rage, her voice dripping venom. What about Bethany? You're stealing her only shot at a kid. How can you be so cold? Without breaking eye contact with Lauren, I fired back. Lauren, you can go to a clinic, get your eggs harvested, have them fertilized with Preston's stuff, and implant them in a surrogate. That's an option. But I'm not done. Once those eggs are out, I want you to get your tubes tied. Her face went white, like she'd been slapped. She knew it was coming, but hearing it hit differently. She choked out, "Please, Jake, don't make me do that." I shook my head, disgust rising. You still don't get it, do you? You're playing games with your body, thinking you can do whatever you want. The only way I know you won't pull this again is if you can't get pregnant the old way. I'm done with your games. You play with fire, you get burned. She broke down, sobbing harder, but I just stared, unmoved. I wasn't here to be her hero. She wasn't getting out of this. Diane, still seething, glared at me like I was the devil himself. You're heartless, she spat. I turned to her, a sneer on my face. Learn from the best, Diane. Lauren agreed to the sterilization if I held off on the divorce. We struck a deal, I'd pause the divorce, and once Lauren went through with the sterilization, I'd file. A month later, we were at an IVF clinic in Savannah, Georgia. The clinic helped Bethany and Preston find a surrogate, with Tom and me each pitching in $10,000 for her fee. The egg retrieval went smoothly for Lauren, just a bit of discomfort. A week later, she had the sterilization procedure, and I went to the courthouse to withdraw the divorce petition, which the judge approved without issue. Life seemed to settle, but our once lively connection fizzled out. We'd sit in separate armchairs at night, staring at the TV, with nothing to say. About a month after the retrieval, the surrogate was implanted with 2 viable eggs, but she miscarried in the 3rd month. The remaining eggs weren't viable, and Lauren couldn't produce more. She stopped hosting family gatherings, and I was happy to skip them. We were just two people raising kids, bound by a marriage certificate but with no real bond. Everything I'd warned about came true. Lauren had backed us into a corner, and it played out just as grimly as I'd feared. For 10 years, we poured everything into the boys, baseball games, school projects, you name it. I was there, and so was Lauren. Our families thought we had it together, but at home, it was a different story. We shared a bed, but there was no warmth. We'd get physical maybe a couple times a week, but it was mechanical, no heart in it. We made sure the other was satisfied, then turned our backs to sleep. When Mason hit 16, he launched a tech startup and raked in good cash. At 20, a company in Seattle offered him a 7-figure deal to buy his app and brought him on with a 6-figure salary. He took it, and we drove out to Seattle to scope it out. He rented a place in a secure neighborhood near the city. Elliot, now 22, had just married his college girlfriend. They worked as accountants for Tom and rented a small place in Augusta. With housing prices skyrocketing, they couldn't buy yet, so I set up a trust to help them get a home. With the boys gone, Lauren and I were empty nesters, and it was obvious neither of us wanted to talk. 2 weeks after Elliot's wedding, Lauren asked me to come home early. I walked in to find her in the kitchen, a suitcase by her side. Tears streaked her face, but her voice was steady. Jake, we both saw this coming. 10 years ago, we stopped being partners. We've been drifting ever since. It's time to face it, our marriage is broken, and no amount of effort can hide the cracks. She slid an envelope across the table. I'm filing for divorce, on the same terms as before. My lawyer's info is in there. Let's keep this clean. I nodded. You're right. We've been living like this for a decade. Your accounts are yours, mine are mine. It's been a long time coming. You can't stop a ship that's already sinking. I agreed it was for the best. Send me the contact info, and we'll wrap this up. Lauren stood, leaned in, and kissed my cheek, the first real affection in years. I packed for the week, she said. I'm renting a place near Elliot's. I'll let you know when I'm settled, and I'll send someone for the rest of my things. Mind if I take some furniture? Go for it, I said. Just leave me a couple chairs in the bed. She chuckled. Most of this won't fit in my new spot anyway. Then she said, take care, Jake, and walked out for good. I felt a pang of sadness, but mostly relief. We hadn't been a couple in forever, this was just closing the book. I called Carter Hayes, and he agreed to handle the divorce again. The judge pushed for counseling, but we both said no. 90 days later, the divorce was finalized, exactly as Lauren wanted. Just before it went through, Elliot announced they were expecting a baby, but he kept his distance, still sore about the split. I made some big moves. First, I sold the business. A rival company offered $25 million, and I took it, they wanted it more than anyone else. After the sale, I signed the house over to Elliot and moved to a small town in Sonoma County, California. It was so tiny, there wasn't a single mechanic, so I opened a small shop, just me, working when I felt like it. Mason, working remotely, moved in with me. We set up an office in the basement, and I'd drive back to Augusta now and then. Elliot was still upset, but he wanted me in his daughter Lily's life. I loved visiting her. A couple years after she was born, I bumped into Lauren at Elliot's place. She was dating a surgeon, one of her clients. I was genuinely happy for her. Not long after, my accountant invited me to a networking event in Sonoma. There, I met Clara, a web designer in her 30s. The next night, the group threw a cocktail party. As we left, Clara grinned and said, "Hope you'll show up to the next one." I smirked. "Is it worth my time, or just a snooze?" She laughed. "This time, I guarantee it'll be a blast." Clara was 20 years younger, but we clicked that night. We never married, but after that, I never lacked for company. After Bethany's miscarriage, she was devastated. She started therapy, quit her job, and went back to school to become a special education teacher. After graduating, she landed a job teaching kids with special needs and found real purpose. Her depression lifted, and she started saying not having kids was the best thing that ever happened to her. Preston, though, turned into a mess. Bethany caught him trying to get a surrogate pregnant the old-fashioned way, and it worked. He married the surrogate, and they had 3 kids. During their divorce, he learned she'd been cheating. The first kid was his, but the other two weren't. Since he was listed on the birth certificates and the biological fathers couldn't be tracked down, he was stuck with alimony. Now he's scraping by in a rough part of town, taking low-end legal cases. His ex turned the kids against him, and he barely sees them. Bet he wishes he'd skipped the whole kid thing.